My expectations, you should have had a checking pen and your homework on your desk. You should be looking at this homework page right now. We're going to check it together. And shame on me, I forgot to put in the answer for number 1 on part 1. So the scientific term for a living thing is an organism. All right, on part 2, when you check your assignment, make sure that you have all 8 of these, but they can be in any order, okay? In any order, just make sure you have them all. I have get and use energy, respond, grow and develop, reproduce, adapt, get rid of waste, made of DNA and cells, and homeostasis. Remember, homeostasis, not every single living thing has that, so that's kind of that quirky one that we just add on at the last. But please remember that 1 through 7, all of those characteristics, a living thing has to have all 7 of those, or they are not considered living. All right, part 3. You were supposed to use one of the characteristics from part 2, and you could use these more than once. All right, that boy shot up 5 inches. Okay, so now we're going to do part 3, and that's going to be using those characteristics to fill in the blanks. Ready? Or to that whatever these phrases identify, you'll put that characteristic there. All right, that boy shot up 5 inches in only 1 year. That's obviously grow and develop. Now today, if you only put grow, I'll take that. But in the future, I'd really like for you to keep that full phrase together. Our cat had kittens. That's obviously reproduction. My dog has become much less clumsy. That's growing and developing. And again, if you just put develop, I'll take it. But in the future, keep that phrase together. Eat a good breakfast and you'll be able to run. That's going to be get and use energy. When the car pulled in, my cat ran to hide. There was a stimulus of the car pulling in and the cat responded. All right, that owl's night vision allows it to see the movement. That's going to be an adaptation, so you could write adapt or adaptation. Single-celled organisms is referencing that they're made of cells. Your body normally maintains, that's going to be homeostasis. And a giraffe using its long neck, again, is an adaptation or living things adapt. All right, in part 4, you're supposed to label this as either a stimulus or a response. So the recess bell rings. That's a stimulus because after that happens, the kids run and scream. Your mouth watering at the sight of food. The stimulus was food, so your mouth watering is a response. A sudden drop in air temperature would be a stimulus because then your body would respond by shivering. The flu virus enters your body, that's a stimulus because the response is you will get sick. Getting butterflies in your stomach before you give a speech, the stimulus is having to give the speech, so getting butterflies is the response to being nervous. Okay? All right, in part 5, we're going to say whether these are living or non-living, okay? And I'm going to tell you right now, the fastest way to answer that question immediately is to ask yourself, does it have babies? And if the answer is no, then it's not living. So, rust eating a hole. Now we say it eats a hole like a human characteristic, but have you ever seen rust pregnant or have a baby? No. Rust is non-living. An apple on a tree is living because the seeds in the center are like the eggs. Okay, bacteria is living, and we're going to talk more about that when we get to microorganisms. Now, I was kind of a goof nut, and I accidentally did F next. So looking at F, a wasp. Obviously, it's living, and I would say, unfortunately, it is living. Do not like them. Lightning. So ask yourself this, lightning. Have you ever seen a pregnant lightning bolt? Okay, or does it have baby lightnings? No, it's non-living. And then a dinosaur fossil, again, is non-living. It used to be living, but it's not living at this point. All right, part 5. This one's kind of tricky because they've picked something that tends to trip 7th graders up. And if you're not understanding what I'm saying, I'll show you in just a minute. So we're looking at, does a dog Does a dog respond to stimuli? So that's our first one. And the answer is yes, because if a car drives by, that's the stimulus, the dog will run and chase it. Now, when we're talking about a fast-moving stream, okay, a fast-moving stream, does it respond to stimulus? And the answer is absolutely, because if you throw a rock, the water will ripple. If you build a little beaver dam or put something in its way, it'll go around it. So yeah, it does respond. Now let's talk about using energy. Using energy. Does a dog use energy? Absolutely. He barks, runs, and does all those things that dogs do, and that's because he eats his Purina. The fast-moving stream, does it use energy? Now, this gets confusing to people because we have hydroelectric plants. That water moving creates energy, but it doesn't use energy. It doesn't have to eat, right? In order to use energy, you have to get energy, get and use energy. And so, the dog eats in order to run and bark. The stream just simply flows, and it doesn't have to eat anything, okay? So the answer is no. Does a dog grow and develop? Absolutely. Puppies grow into dogs. Does a fast-moving stream grow and develop? And I'm going to actually say, yeah, it does. Because rivers change and they can swell and they can get bigger and then they can get smaller over time. So I'm going to say it does grow and develop. But obviously a river is not alive, or a fast-moving stream is not alive, simply because it doesn't use energy. Remember, if it has one thing that it doesn't do, then it's no longer alive. But then we could look at other things as well, like a fast-moving stream doesn't reproduce, it doesn't have babies, and more. All right, so now that you have that homework assignment done, make sure that that gets turned in to me. And I would like for you to get ready to start our lab. It's number 63 because that's the card set. That's not the 63rd lab we've done this year. So number 63, our Asexual Microviewer Lab. If you are a digital student because you were absent, then you will have a digital version of this on Google Classroom. All right, these are going to be our supplies for the lab. This and this is what you need to supply for the lab. These other things I will supply for you. If you are a digital learner today because you weren't absent for this lab, you're not going to use this and you're not going to use this. I have these kind of blown up on a PowerPoint slide or Google slide presentation for you to use to complete your lab. Okay. If you are a in-person lab student, you're going to remember that the number on your microviewer here needs to be put in a circle at the top of your lab sheet, and the number on that lab card needs to be put in a square at the top, or rectangle at the top of the lab sheet as well. All of these questions, every single one of them, can be found on the lab card, okay? They can be found in the reading on the lab card. You don't need your notes, you don't need Google, you don't need me. You literally can find these in the text. So where it says 1 right here, that's going to be slide 1. And on the card, it will be slide 1, binary fission. Okay? So please work through this. Take the time to read that text that's with those cards. And I hope you enjoy the lab.